Align Your Mojo, the show where we have our conversation to help you align who you are, where you are, and where you want to go throughout your life. I am Coach Orlando, and with me is not only former client, not only current coach, but friend, Coach Mojo. What's going on, Mojo?
Hey there, coach. How you doing? I'm doing pretty good over here. I can't complain.
I'm doing all right. I'm doing all right. And it's funny, I a lot of times when I will ask generally how you're doing, um, that's just what I want to know. But there's been so much going on in the world right now. And
Hmm.
we can get into our own views on that as we go if we feel like it. But just talking about the fact that it is January 16th. We are halfway through January. I'm about ready for Thanksgiving break. Ain't gonna tell no lie. And I'm like,
It was
what
a
is?
beautiful thing, that break.
Whew, whew. Okay, so we did not. There was no training wheels on this January. It was hit the road. So I am good, but part of what I want to talk about today is also that part of why I am able to say I'm good is I've been very consciously doing things for that keep me grounded and sane. And that's
Hmm.
why I pitched
Hmm.
that this could be a line, aligning your sanity when the world is going crazy. And so
Yes.
I highlighted that, but I guess I'm wondering if you're going through any of that because I really feel like I have had to actively be like, okay, we ain't going crazy, so how are we gonna get through this?
Yeah. I think I'm just realizing that I have to decide not to go crazy because I'm getting that stir crazy feeling where it's not more that much more going on. I was going on around this time that last year
Mm,
personally, but in the
mm-hmm.
world, yeah, it's
Right.
affecting me. So
Yeah.
stuff is affecting me way a little more easily than it usually does. So it definitely feels like a angst in the
Right.
air that I'm
Right.
not sure really what to do with.
Well, before we get to world events or how we're dealing with world events, we have a
Hmm.
Mojo event that I want to make sure we don't forget to talk about. So we have Monday
Indeed.
Moments coming back on Monday. Can't wait
Indeed. So
to
we took a
watch.
little we
Yeah.
took a little holiday hiatus, but we are back Monday, January 19th. No better day than the King celebratory day.
Hey,
Yes.
King Holiday.
Remember that? Remember that? So I'm going to do a little reflection on our first Monday back just to talk
Mhm.
about some of the crazy that's going on in the world and some of the not so crazy and some of the things
Yeah.
that we should celebrate. And then I'll
Yes.
give you all a little snippet into what's to come for the rest of the season. So yes, thank you for the shout out. It's
Yeah.
Mondays on Instagram and on YouTube. On Instagram is at Mojo295 and on YouTube is at FYM with Maisha on YouTube.
And we
So that is
are
live at 8 p.m. EST, I should say.
sorry about that. Yep. 5 p.m.
Hmm.
PST because I know I'm there. And what I started to say is check the show notes. We get better about these show notes, tighten up the game. Y'all got to understand, I'm everything from producer to intern over here. So we working on it. We getting there. But the show notes will be there, and you'll be able to get there that way as well. We'll also be promoting it otherwise. So yeah, no, I'm excited. I'm excited to get back to Monday Moments. And for those of you who don't know, oftentimes what we'll do is because a lot of this Align Your Mojo is the lifestyle part, the personal part of alignment and looking at it that way for what's really going on in people's individual lives. A lot of times the topics for our Align Your Mojo conversations come right out of Monday Moments because I'll
Little
listen or I'll
spin
watch.
off, if you will. Little spin off, if you
Exactly.
will.
Yeah, we'll spit off the topic. And so
That's it.
no, there've been some amazing well, I think so. I'm sharing with everyone that there've been some amazing conversations and some things that have really made me go back and think, whether about relationships or whatever. So anyway, I love that. And I love that idea. But as far as aligning your mojo, um,
Yes, yes.
yeah, you said when it
And
sounded
keeping
like that
sane.
resonated. Yeah, how you
Yeah, you
it
say you
sounds
want to
like that
keep sane
resonated
with
for
all
you.
the crazy. It does indeed. So I don't know if you want me to go first or you want to go first, but
I
I
can go
guess
for it, or
since I'm
it's up to
talking to
you.
you, how do you feel like you've been maintaining your sanity throughout the crazy? And
Well,
and before I start there, like what's some of the things like I know sometimes we speak
yeah.
generically because we know all of the things. What are some of the things that make you the most crazy? that's going on in the world? Let me start there first.
Yeah, no, I am so glad you asked that. And I'll start the answer and I'm going to get to the answer to what you just specifically asked. So one of the things I've been doing, and it started during about a year into the pandemic, I guess, something, maybe not. Anyway, it doesn't matter. The point is, during the pandemic, I started therapy during the lockdown.
Mm-hmm.
I've done therapy before. It wasn't whatever, but so that has been an amazing experience. And I promise there's a reason I'm sharing all this. But that's been an amazing experience. But also what happened was what I'd gone there to specifically work on, we got through. And so my therapist, being ethical, was like, hey, I should probably let you know that, based on what we're doing here, like we're kind of good with what you came in here about, do you want to stop? And I was like, absolutely not. And the reason I did not want to stop specifically was I felt like I had been in something of a cycle in my adult life a few times now where it's like, oh, I'm doing better. And then I go out in the world, I'm doing better. And I find myself sort of back in similar situations of feeling overwhelmed, feeling depressed, whatever. And it was like, well, I don't want to I don't want to leave now because I want to have to come back to see you later, basically. It's like about 3 years, I'm about to call you. And instead of that, why don't we just stay together? So this doesn't go that way. I love it. So, and it was beautiful because it took me out of a situation where I was there for a little bit, something more acute. And then I was able to say, okay, now let's get under all that to like what's really going on. And we have, and I'm not going to take you through years of therapy, but I sort of want to lay the groundwork for what I'm about to say. So actually this week I had a therapy session where we're talking about world events. We're talking about my life. We're putting it all together, how I'm feeling. And it came out, or we came to the realization of the fact that what is a central piece for me is fairness. That's not fair. Like if I look back over my life to childhood, and it was crazy when we really started to discuss it, back to childhood, like the biggest moments in my life where I've reacted, where I've been like, I'm not taking this, it's all been around fairness. And it hasn't always been fairness to me. As a matter of fact, I could make the argument that I've started a lot of trouble for myself getting involved with what ain't fair for somebody else. But a lot of other people is like, that ain't my business. And I'm fine with that, and I'm happy with that. But I'm just to be real about it. So why that's particularly interesting to me right now is a lot of what's going on in the world is triggering that part for me right now.
Okay.
That's not fair.
Okay.
That's not fair.
That's an interesting answer. Yeah.
You see what I'm saying? And like I realize, and so when I'm just gonna go ahead and speak on it because it ain't like I haven't written about it. It's not like anybody would know me and have to guess. But when I look at a man with a gun looking into the face of a woman who said, I'm not mad at you, and he shoot her 3 times, I'm like, that's not fair. Like, it's cruel, it's a lot of stuff. I'm not saying all it is not fair, but it's not fair. She ain't had no gun. That's not fair. You rolling up in Target, snatching people out from their jobs, pulling people out their car, DoorDash women running. Like, what is y'all doing? It's not. That's my problem with it. Is it's not fair. If you want to fight, let's fight. But don't give somebody a badge and a gun and permission to terrorize everybody. Right. So that's where that's not all of where I am, but that's a big piece of where I am personally right now. That I'm having to work myself through is I'm like, this ain't fair. Like in my heart, I want to shoot a fair one with Jonathan Willis, the ICE agent. In my heart, I want everybody to back up, and I want him to knuckle up, and me and him could do it then. Like that's in my heart.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And I know that's not how the world works, but I'm like, yo, shoot a fair one. If you really all this, shoot a fair one. And so that You can hear in my voice, even I didn't mean to do all that, but you can hear in my voice how passionate I get about that. So a lot of my work right now is around returning to where my actual power is.
Okay.
Acknowledging that I find that infuriating, not pretending I don't see it, but going, okay, but Jonathan Ross ain't gonna shoot a fair one with you. So we only gonna spend but so much time in our day getting riled up about that.
Word up.
Right.
Yeah.
So that's and I do find that the therapy helps me with that. One, for being able to just articulate and figure this stuff out. Because I didn't know until that session how core. I mean,
yeah. Wow, that's an interesting thing you unpacked there. Yeah.
That was for me. And yeah, and anyway, I don't want to distract from what we are actually talking about when I thought about
No, that's it. That's what we're talking about.
Right. It's to me, it's also like it's why in some ways I've run this business the way I've run it. You know, it's why I coach the way I coach, because I'm like, that's not fair. Part of why, I've said to you, like, this is for everybody. And obviously I am personally not a Black woman, but there's a reason I have centered Black women in the way I think about this. And even some of the approaches I've taken, because I'm like, that's not fair. That's not, I am watching the plight of Black women and going, this is some bullshit, y'all. This is again, it's not, and I know some people, oh, he's a simp, he's this, he's that. First of all, I'm already married. I ain't chasing nobody down. I ain't got to say nothing. I'm saying what I really believe. And I look at the world and I'm like, this is not fair. That Black women have to deal with this after vote 92% against it is not fair. That's really terrible. That is terribly unfair.
So how do you deal with it? So now that you've labeled it, you've discovered that, you've pointed that out, you've acknowledged it. What would you say? So what are you doing to be sane with that insanity, with that unfairness?
Yeah.
Now what?
Well, yeah. No. I'm glad you. So there are a couple of things that I'll point to. One is, and I'm saying this specifically as a Black man and hoping that other Black men, everyone, all people, if I were in charge of the federal budget, there would be as much money available for mental health care as was requested. Basically, you get a therapist, you get a therapist, you get a therapist. You see what I'm saying? Like, absolutely. And I'm a deep believer in that. Whether it's a coach or therapist, maybe a friend with whom you have a real but like that, we have to be. I have to be in communication, because if I hadn't discovered that fairness part, then I wouldn't necessarily be fully in touch with why I'm feeling how I'm feeling. That's now I can be very precise in addressing it, because I know, oh, that's what I'm feeling. It's unfair. So I'll share that. See, you messed around and asked me, and now I'm just.
This is it. This is it right here.
But I, and I'm sharing with others that I have been, over the last several years now, paying a lot of attention in terms of philosophy. A lot of that has been watching like lectures on Western philosophy, really, a lot of stuff on Eastern philosophy. I've had in mind, and like I've read some bell hooks, and I've paid attention to some other things, and some blog and blah blah blah. But I've been feeling like I've been aware that as much attention I've been paying to Western philosophy, I have to be mindful that at the end of the day, these are also the essentially the minds that gave us colonialism, right? Like I have to maintain that, like, most of them wouldn't even acknowledge that I was smart enough to understand what the hell they was talking about. Let's just be real, right? So I've had it in my mind that, like, I wanted to get to some Black and maybe even specifically African, maybe Caribbean, throughout the diaspora kind of a thing, thinkers, so I could sort of see specific ways that they were integrating some of this stuff, specific ways that they were saying, well, you know what I'm saying? Yeah. We do that for folks. We're like, now that you went through the regular employee training, let me take a couple of these, right? Like that. And so the name that has come up for me is Frantz Fanon, who I hadn't read any Frantz Fanon since, like, certainly since I've graduated college. I think in college I read Black Skin, White Mask, or whatever. The point is, I don't even know if my beard was connecting yet. never mind being great. And one of the things that came up as one of the professors who was talking about him, and I'll try to remember the name, I'll share the link to this, is that that Fanon was interviewing people who had been seen as like depressed or this or that. And what he got to was this person is not mentally ill. And his point, essentially, without me trying to feel like bringing all the language, because he's like medically trained and I'm certainly not, was if someone's a second-class citizen, if someone's been robbed of their rights, if somebody's being oppressed, they're being angry or sad or frustrated is not a sign that their mind isn't doing what we want minds to do. Their mind is having a very reasonable response to their life circumstance. And while I know that, and I know stuff like that, there was something about hearing it articulated, and just like over the last couple of weeks that I've been doing, hearing it articulated so cleanly, and it helped me because I was like, you ain't crazy. This crazy.
If you want to say that, yeah.
You see what I'm saying? Like, I really was like, you ain't crazy. Like, part of me, hey, look, we're going to have to start thinking about what we're going to do if they come back in LA. Now, somebody might be like, ooh, Orlando sound paranoid. Does Orlando sound paranoid? Because they already been in LA and they just finished shooting a lady. Yeah. So I'm not sure I sound paranoid.
It makes me think of so many, as you were saying, it makes me think of so many things because you know me in my mind, how it goes. It just, one thing makes me think about another thing. And I don't even know if we have to ask these questions or answer them now. But I'm wondering, when you said that, when that person, you're not crazy, right? But are the people acting like this? Are they crazy? Is that ICE person that killed that woman? Is he crazy?
Is that crazy?
Is the man crazy?
Well, see, we go. This is not where we're taking about.
I'm saying.
But what I started to be like, well, is this helping people with how they're going to stay sane? But I think it is. And here's why. I think we have to think these things through, and we have to think these things through for ourselves. I'm not saying to anybody, hey, because I'm Coach Orlando and I say X is crazy or not crazy, that you have to agree. I am saying that I highly recommend spending some time thinking about this stuff right now because it is going to drive some people crazy. Folks are going to lose their mind. Literally, there are going to be people who used to be sane who on the other side of this ain't going to be no more for all sorts of reasons. I do think...
I said we didn't have to answer it. I just
no.
Right.
But I do think, in a colloquial way, I do think all oppression is insane. Okay. Like I think, well, really, all supremacist thinking is insane.
Okay.
Now you really talk about it. I'll speak for myself. I think it is inherently a crazy place to come from. And I think it leads people to behave in crazy ways. Okay. Because to believe in a supremacist framework, you have to Fanon does talk about this, which is probably why it's top of mind. You do have to dehumanize people.
Yes, Lord, you do.
You have
to. Hello, slavery. Hello, yeah.
You have to, right? Like, how would you pull this off otherwise, right? Because if they're down and they are equal, then why are we right? So we have to convince whoever the us is, we have to convince ourselves that they actually are less than us. How are you gonna be born with a penis and put a dress on? You're less than me. So I don't have to respect you. I don't have to call you by the name you ask. I know people named Edward won't let you call him Eddie. So we know how to do this. We know how to do this. So I could as easily as I went from Eddie to Edward, I could go to Edwina. What the hell is it to me? I don't give a damn. Why do you give a damn? You give a damn in part because if you say Edwina, you are acknowledging that this person is on your level. And your identity is grounded and bolstered and built around your being above them. You can't do it.
it goes back into that ego thing where you and I were talking about offline the other day, that whole ego thing and
Yes.
where it
Yeah,
plays a
go,
role
go,
and
go,
how
go.
it plays a role. And that pastor or minister that I was listening to on Oprah's podcast, I can't remember the minister's name now, but he said that the ego is the devil because we
Mm.
that the devil resides outside and inside of yourself. And if your ego is telling you better than somebody because you white, because you're black, whatever the reason is, I mean, it sounds pretty evil to me.
And think about the things that kind of thinking always leads to. It
Leads to
always leads
that
to
part.
abuses because as soon as you start this dehumanizing business, it's easier and easier for you to be cruel. It's easier and easier for you to kill, frankly, for you to rape. I know there's certain words I gotta be careful about, so I'm not gonna say all of them too many times on on YouTube. But like,
Mhm.
this part is not theoretical. And I will say again to people, I don't need you to agree with my thinking. I'm happy to discuss the thinking. Please comment below. I will be checking the comments and we can discuss. Come to what conclusions you come to. Sure, great, fantastic. Not, that's what I always would want. But I do think that one of the ways to stay sane is to give yourself a moment to process what you are seeing and to really ask yourself some questions about it and about your reaction to it.
And yours personal, like, yeah, I think that's important.
You see what I mean? Because your
Yes, I
thing might
do.
not be that's not fair. Like, I'll tell you a
Mm-hmm.
quick story, a sidestep story, so you can see like how clear it came to me once we started talking about it. But your thing might not be that's not fair, right? So for you to look at it through that lens is not entirely helpful or not helpful in the way we're
Yes, it is
talking about.
helpful. Yes,
You know
but
what
I
I
see what
mean?
you're saying.
Because you need to figure out what it is for you. But yeah, I think it's really important. I think for a lot of people, frankly, and I don't just think white women, I think for a lot of people, because we're in this country and we're accustomed to a certain way of things working, part of why this Renee Good story messed everybody up is that ain't supposed to happen to no white lady.
Right. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Because
Yeah.
if I got shot, I don't think everybody would have been. I'm not saying people would have been upset. I'm not saying it would have been protests. I can't know that. But I don't think it would have been the shock to the system.
Mm-hmm.
There was a level on which it was like, oh, all hell done broke loose. They done killed a white lady.
Yeah, and that's the piece that it bothers me. I don't wonder where did this thinking start? How did so many people adapt it? How come it's still spreading like the flu? Like what in the world?
It's fascinating. And it's one of the things where I think as a country, we haven't had the reckoning we're supposed to have. I saw a meme fairly recently that
Reckoning. I
said,
like these words using reckoning.
you
Okay,
know
so
what I'm
I
saying? But I saw a meme recently where this woman was saying that, part of why we are where we are is that the Confederacy was never punished for what they did.
mm. You because as you're
I,
talking, this is where my mind is going back to all of these things, all of these injustices. Like who in the world stood up and said, you know what we should do? We should oppress the black people. We should oppress the who
it's
what
never, but when in American history has there been broad agreement that ending slavery was the right thing to do? Like, let's be real about that. Because it took forever to get a King holiday. And immediately, all of a sudden, there had to be a Robert E. Lee Day. That had to be on that Monday. Now, we have 52 Mondays. We got 52 Mondays.
all right, Tyler Perry.
You know what I'm saying? How is it that we're the only one that fit Robert E. Lee? And I think ultimately that's what we're dealing with, is that people talk about and even I am like, look, conceptually, of course I get reparations. I'd be mad if you owe me $5 and I don't see it again. Right?
Mm-hmm.
But I'll be honest and say my mind has not wrapped around yet as a practical matter. And this is not to say that the concept is off. The concept is right. I just, as a practical matter, don't know how in the heck you're going to split up this money now, even if you got it. So, but that's not the point of what I'm saying.
Here nor there, yeah. Mm-hmm.
What is the point of what I'm going to say is, however that money would be split up, them white slave owners already got theirs. White slave owners got reparations. It was acknowledged that they had lost something. It was never fully acknowledged, as in making it right, getting them people something for what was done. It was never acknowledged that enslaving Black people was wrong. And that means that anything that was done in the context of American chattel slavery goes into that too. That means lynching isn't wrong. That means the sexual assault of women and men. And I don't mean to diminish the women's side of that, but I think it's very important to acknowledge the male side. Like, there's a lot of like wild behavior. I mean, how could you say that racism, and I'm going to call it white supremacy right now, that white supremacy doesn't make you crazy when we have stories about white people eating Black babies? Like,
so yeah.
what?
So this makes me think of crazy.
That's crazy.
So now, as you're talking about the crazies, and we're talking about over time the crazy. So now the time then, I mean, if that wasn't a time to be crazy, and they were still praising God and having their families and raising pretty damn decent people, as far as I can tell, how in the heck do we remain crazy? I mean, how do we become sane or maintain sanity then versus now? I mean, we didn't say that's
well then, about, yeah. I mean, I think
because then, shit.
I know. I mean, I don't know. Beyond, like, and I think there's certain things, right? And I think there's certain things about things that are not the way we would want them to be for Black people in America, that I think you can draw a very straight line back to a lot of this, like Reconstruction. You know what I mean? I'm saying, like, you ain't got to be the 70s, and you ain't got to get to all of that Moynihan report and all that. I mean, we can talk about that, but that's you can draw a straight line back. I do think, though, that one way we kept ourselves sane was by holding on to each other.
I like it.
I think when there was community, wherever it was, and I'm not saying it was a day when every single Black person in the whole country was together. There was never a day when every single Black person in the country agreed. Never. Like, that's right. John Lewis, and it's funny. I'm gonna comment on it, so I don't keep thinking to not comment on it. This is not the conversation I thought we were gonna have, but I think it's a conversation worth having. But you know, John Lewis one day, you know, some young person asked him, how did y'all, you know, it seems like we can't get everybody unified now. How did y'all do it? How did y'all get everybody unified? And he was like, we didn't. That wasn't everybody. He was like,
how about that?
He was like,
how about that? We didn't.
You know, we didn't. And you know, I may be paraphrasing a touch, but it was essentially that. And I think it's important for us to remember that. And I think that one way we maintain our sanity is in community. I thought it was borderline cathartic. You know, it's funny, I used the same phrase earlier, but it was borderline cathartic when Kamala Harris sat up. This is after the election. This is as things are going down. And she said, you ain't crazy. These motherfuckers crazy. I love it. Because it has to be said. Like, we could feel it, but we all know what it's like. If you hang around someplace where everybody's talking crazy, like, you do get to a point where you like, maybe it's me. Like, maybe.
I mean, I always segue into relationships, but I mean, when you're dating a person that's not as kind or sane as you, same thing. They start making you think you crazy. Like, maybe you didn't do that. So yeah.
And it's very easy until, right? And usually what do we do in those kinds of situations? We talk to, you know, whether it's somebody more official, like a preacher or a therapist, or we talk to a friend, whatever, but we reconnect to some other folks and sanity check. Because I've had times with stuff in my relationship where my better friends, you know, the you know, who aren't just gonna be like, yeah, you right, 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 where they've been like, bruh, nah, you missed it on that one. You need to go back inside and cook a dinner or something.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
But whatever your friend says to you, they're helping you to like reground. Like, is this wild? Am I making this up? Is this whatever? Am I being gaslit? I think we're going to have to actively do that for one another.
Because I think that's part of the answer. Maybe not everybody. That's definitely part of the answer. Yeah.
I think I don't know how you would do this without community. I really don't. Like I guess I'm gonna beat this drum a little more than I
want you to. I was gonna ask you to say that again.
Because I think community is gonna be critical. Because, and now I do have to just sort of like be fully where I am politically and say how I mean it. Because part of what totalitarianism insists on is that you feel completely powerless. That event that you get ground down to where they just say, get on a train, and you just get on a train.
I mean, it's like battered women syndrome, right? How come you didn't leave him? You've been here all this time. You say he's doing this, but yeah.
Right. Yeah. So it's funny, and I'll actually, for a very specific reason, I'll stay on that train, and we can talk about some of the other ways of keeping sanity as we go. But that battered woman syndrome, I think, it could probably give us some more insight than people might imagine at first. And I don't think it's a coincidence that you drew that parallel, because during the election campaign, I remember being very, very disturbed. And it's funny because I was going to use it for something I'm writing, and I probably still will. But Tucker Carlson was at a rally. I want to say it was the Madison Square Garden one, but now I'm thinking maybe I got the dates wrong. But anyway, he was at a big Republican event. And this guy gets to talking about how sometimes when daddy gets home and some teen girl slams the door and he has to do this and straighten her out and that. I was like, okay, this is so weird. First of all, that's so weird. You don't have a teenage daughter.
And he didn't think anything was weird about that.
They was cheering him. He didn't think that was weird about it. They were cheering him. So that's the model. The model is mean dad. The model is the sky is red because I said the damn sky is red. Right? Now, in my house, I really did. This, they cannot deny. In my house, if I said the sky was red, you are invited to say the sky is blue. As a matter of fact, I probably won't respect you if you don't say the sky is blue. Because you know good and damn well the sky ain't red. Right? But that's a certain kind of house. That, to use stuff that we're talking about otherwise, that's an empower house.
Yeah.
But they want the whole country to be an overpower house. And they're saying it. If you listen to them, the thing is, you don't have to believe me because they are telling you how it is. What happened? The man got run over by a car and shot the lady and stuff. You a lie. You a lie. And you going to keep, we all looking at the video. A woman, there's a silly story, but there's no way to identify the person. It's very funny and it lines up with this. So this woman I know, there was a patriarch in this family who was very much of the like, I am the man of this family, right? And so there's a little kid in the family, and I guess it's early morning or whatever, and the man's coming downstairs, and the man farts as he's walking downstairs because he don't think nobody's down there. But the little kid was down there. And the little kid was like, grandpa or whatever farted. That man denied he farted. Called that kid a liar. Now, I remember hearing that story, because in the context of some things I need to understand, but I remember hearing that story and being like, that's a worldview.
Wow.
He couldn't be seen as fallible, even in that basic human way. Like, if you don't, you probably going to be unhealthy.
Right.
That part. You know what I'm saying? Let's get real about it. But he was not, there was no version of the universe where that man was getting ready to admit that he farted walking down the stairs. And that's the world we living in.
Hilarious analogy.
But seriously, think about the stuff we've been seeing. And people look right in the camera and tell you that didn't happen. You like, I just watched it happen.
Yeah.
But that's of that overpower mentality. That is, it didn't happen because I'm in charge and I told you it didn't happen. Now, when you have that going on, if the siblings ain't speaking to each other, right? And if we keep this all heteronormative, if mom ain't taking a Saturday morning to go have brunch with her sisters and talk some sanity, y'all all gonna go crazy in that house.
Yeah, yeah.
Because there's reality and there's what this dude say. And your safety can be tied to agreeing to that version.
Right. Your safety. Before you even get to sanity, your safety. Yeah.
You see what I'm saying?
Yes, but you know me and my layers, but that just makes me want to know more about the abuser and his sanity. Because you gotta be pretty. Yeah. I mean, I guess intelligent and sanity are two different things. Because you're intelligent as an MF, because you're intelligent to know that you have to keep me away from my sisters in order to be able to control me like you are.
It's funny you say that, and
I'm sorry, my brain.
No, because this is important, and if we're gonna talk about ways to keep our sanity, I will share this, and I do think it's very important. And I think it plays into the community conversation. I passed this on to my children, but my mother very early on. Now, the reason for doing it was like, I guess in New York at this time, like Sun Young Moon. I don't know if you remember him, but he had like this huge church and blah, blah, blah. Anyway, she was like, listen. And I remember her saying this to me plain as day. And my grandfather started 2 churches. So like my family's about it.
Oh, I didn't know that.
When it comes, okay. Oh yeah. And she said, anything you join where they tell you now you have to cut off from your family, run.
She ain't never lied.
She was like, period. Like she was like, I don't care what the group is about. The minute they start telling you can't communicate with this one, and you ain't gonna communicate with that one, she was like, get out of there.
Word
and
up.
I passed it along to my kids, and I'll add to it that I also share with my kids. And I had to be, I'll contextualize by saying, anyway, I could go in a couple ways, but I'll contextualize this by saying I'm definitely the dude. Like one time I saw a post on Facebook and it warned men to be mindful of how they talk about what they will do if somebody hurts their family, because it can scare the members of their family to the point where if something happens now, they want to hide it because they don't want that thing to happen.
Mm-hmm.
So when I had my conversations with my kids, where I was like, hey, if anybody tells you get away from your family, you know that's a problem. The other thing I told them was, anybody tell you this is going to be our secret from your parents, that's basically the same thing.
I love it. Mm-hmm.
But see, again, so that was that piece. Now the piece around the sanity was also like managing ourselves. So I had to make sure I said that to them in a way that was as not frightening as I could be. Now they know me.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
They know somebody hurt them. It's gonna be a situation. Like you ain't gotta know me for about 5 minutes. But at the very least, I tried to present it in a way that was like, it ain't about that. And as I got older, I had it. It's really not none of your business what's gonna happen to me after I do what I gotta do.
Mm.
My job is to keep you safe. My job ain't to not get in trouble. That's not my job. Now, if I can keep you safe and stay out of trouble, I'll do that. But if I gotta get in trouble to keep you safe, I'm gonna do that.
Mm-hmm.
You see what I mean? So I think there are 2 elements there, I guess, that I'm highlighting, and I'm bumping into these in real time. Which again, I thought this would be more. But I like this. One way of keeping my sanity was making sure I had communicated, right? So just so everybody knows where I stand, and this is what I'm doing. So we have clarity. But the other piece was really setting expectations. Like if something happens to you, I fully expect you to let me know. Like at one point my son made some point about like, I wouldn't say nothing. And I said, then I'm gonna have a problem with 2 people.
Right.
You know? So yeah, but bringing it back to the more general, I mean, that's a community too, right? That's a family.
Yeah. And communication, all of those things you need to be saying. I think it's right on point. What we're talking about.
But yeah, I think community is gonna matter more than ever.
Community, communication. Yeah.
I mean, even if you look at what's happening in Minneapolis, which I'm so proud of these people, because very easily, when that guy and I don't want to keep saying his name because hell with him. But anyway, when that guy shot that woman and called her an effing B as her car rolled down the street and she died, I think he thought that'll show them, right? And not only do I think that's what he thought, but other ICE officers, I've seen videos of them over the last week and a half saying, didn't you learn your lesson? Didn't you see what happened? So they're not seeing that as like, oh my God, things got out of hand. They're seeing that as, don't make me do it again.
Examples. Yeah.
You know,
wow.
And I think it's really powerful that in the face of that energy, that the people in Minneapolis is like, we don't care if you shot or if you didn't, get out.
Mm-hmm.
You might have to shoot me next. Like one man literally, I heard a man say, shoot me. And that takes a ton of courage. Yeah, but I think it also, the courage is helped by the community of it all. I think that is, you know, one person can stand, but when a group of people stands up, when we gonna blow our whistles, you ain't sneaking up on nobody. We gonna blow our whistles. We gonna honk our horns. We gonna make you know what I'm saying? Like that's community. That is community. That, you know what I mean? Like we talk about, but that is community. That is a group of people saying, you are not gonna pick us off one by one. We not having it.
Mm-hmm.
We not having it.
And that's a great example of what to do in the face of insanity, of trying to be sane in the face of insanity.
I think you have to, because, you know, we all, you know, there's a phrase that, you know, the sports teams will use is, we all we got, we all we need. And right, I mean, if that don't fit this moment, we all we got. I told somebody earlier, I say this not to upset people, but I said it to like, hey, we better get real about what's going on. I said, imagine Robert E. Lee was in charge of both armies, because that's where we at.
You see?
I said, you just ask yourself how hard it will be in that situation, and understand that's exactly where we are right now. Robert E. Lee is in charge of the Union Army and the Confederate Army. So if we don't stand together, what possible chance do we have?
Word up.
But you know me, I advocate for community just to make our lives better and build our businesses, and we can be doing that too. I think we're gonna have to.
Yeah.
Because it's gonna last a while. So if we think like we ain't gonna have to have jobs, and we ain't gonna have to raise kids, and we ain't gonna, it's all gonna have to keep happening.
Yeah, we still gotta live as long as we got breath.
As long as we got breath. So yeah. So no, I think the community piece is huge, and I'm glad we went down that road. And I'll say it again.
No, I was just saying the topic in my head again: aligning sanity when the world goes crazy.
Yeah, and I think also, you know, the work we do, we talk to people about, you know, what's the point, having that clarity about what they want, the emotional experience they want to have. But the other part of it is being real about your starting point.
Yeah, right.
And I think one thing that we talked about and I want to ask you about is, one way to stay sane is figuring out the right balance of informed and inundated.
Right. Because that's what I was just touching on last Friday too. Yeah.
You know what I mean? And so I actually, because I have thoughts on that too, but I want to ask you, because you had brought it up, have you had any thoughts around how you want to approach informed but not inundated?
You know, I have friends that I watch, and you know, a lot of people have different personalities, and just in life, I have friends that talk before they think and think before they talk. But most of my life, with that, in that vein, and observing friends and personalities and even acquaintances, sometimes not always friends, just their behaviors. And so I thought I brought that back to myself and try to see, who am I, right? Because who am I in order to figure out where I am. And my who, I know we didn't get there yet, but my who was, I'm an observer. A lot of people, and they maybe say, oh, you're quiet. No, I'm an observer. So I think that speaks back to where I am right now and how I intend to move forward and not be so inundated by the news, like you said, that you just believe whatever channel
Right.
you turn to, what they say, but
Right.
making sure you mentioned it earlier, I forgot how you put it, but taking it in, decide, taking a moment to decide what you want to do with that information
Yes.
and how you feel about it.
Yes.
So that's where I'm going to start.
That's
That
where
my
you're at.
starting point is taking it in, doing what I do in life
Yeah.
anyway, which is taking it in,
Yeah.
observing, listening. Because
Yeah.
even in life, you could talk so much and you're not listening. So listening.
For sure.
Yeah, and seeing what
Yeah.
the
No,
story
that's
is. Yeah.
well, I'm going to react to that directly first and say part of what I find powerful about that is that's so not our world right now. Like, that's so not our world right now. Right now, I actually, this because you know this, but for Substack, I coined the phrase. We actually put the little TM at the end because I was like, that's pretty good. But I came up with the idea of the overthink piece. And the reason I call it the overthink piece is usually all think pieces are out in 24 hours. And then the think piece about the think piece take about another 12 hours. And by 2 days after a major world event, everybody's done thinking. We done had all the thinking. And I was like, you know what? Like, sometimes I need a moment to think, to consider, to sit with something. So I'm going to write overthink pieces. I'm going to write it when I've had my chance to think. And it's not just a pure reaction. So anyway, I say that because I think you remind us that you ain't always got to say something.
Yeah, yeah.
You can take a moment, and sometimes that is lost. That can get lost on me. I have to remember that. One of my strengths is I'm the person who will speak up in the meeting, but sometimes. Right, every strength is weakness, and every weakness is strength.
How about that? That's a good reminder.
And sometimes I do think I would have been better off with not never speaking up, but sometimes having a bit more discernment around whether me speaking up right now advances anything, or if it's just this. It's funny. I do this more for my public speaking. But I guess I could think about it just generally in life. Do I need to say this, or does this need to be said? Right, because does this need to be said is about y'all. Right. And sometimes you say it because you need to say it, and that's okay. Yeah. But having clarity around what is this?
Yeah. I couldn't agree with you more.
What is this? So I like the idea of just taking that time and taking that moment. No, that makes a lot of sense. And I think also because we're gonna get a lot of wild information. Yeah. And now people with this AI and whatever, we're gonna have to be very okay. Even the ability to say like, I saw, not this is what happened. I saw a video like this. Somebody else might tell you, because there were pictures coming out that were supposed to be of this guy who did the shooting, and I come to find out a whole bunch of them was just like AI generations based on what he would look like without a mask. Y'all gonna get somebody hurt. You should tell me that, because then I know that's an approximation. You presented it to me like this is the dude. Now there's almost definitely a dude who looks like that, and you gonna get this dude hurt. So I think deep breaths are a good thing sometimes. Take that deep breath. Yeah. Oh, I think you're on mute. Oh, you're good. So I am. It's funny. This conversation didn't go where I thought it would go. I'm happy about where it went. But I guess what I would ask you now as we're winding down is how are you finding community? Where would you like to find community? Does that resonate for you? Like we've talked about it generally, but yeah.
I am lucky enough to have had I have several. I have lots of different. It's a blessing and a curse. I love you all, but I have a lot of different groups of friends. Friends from high school, friends from work, friends from college, friends that I've met from friends of friends that went to college.
Mm-hmm.
So what I am thankful for often, and try to call out on my grateful list, is that everybody's doing a whole bunch of different things, and somewhere in church friends, all of the things. So usually I can pull from all of those groups depending on what it is that I'm going through at the
I
time.
like that. I
So I'm
like that.
lucky enough to have that, and I do, and I try to pay attention to who those people are, and
You
build
know,
off that. Yeah.
yeah. I love that. And I love that in particular because, when we talk about team, right, for us, like who's on
Mm-hmm.
your team for whatever you're trying to do, being clear about what you go to different people to to experience or to get. I have friends who, regardless of what I call them about, they about to crack a joke. Now, if I need to laugh, they are the right person to call. But I'm promise you, my boy Jamal, I could call that dude and tell him I'm dying next Tuesday. He gonna crack a damn joke. Now he gonna get on a plane. He gonna come
Right.
out
You
here.
see
He
what I'm
gonna. I'm
saying?
not saying he don't give a damn that I'm dying, but he gonna crack a joke. Damn it! And so if you ain't ready for that, don't call him. So I love that you're able to identify, like, I've got this group, I've got this group. You might be like, this is some prayer circle time. Then it's, it might be time to
You
call the
feel
church
me?
folks and
You
not
feel
the
me?
time. So I think that's very important to have some clarity around what people bring to our lives as well. Yeah. I guess, for me in this, it's part of why I've, in addition to the coaching that we're doing and looking for new opportunities, and now this year, committed to find speaking opportunities and all that. It's part of why I've tried to rethink how we can build community.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
I
in the
mean, we're
different
off to a pretty good
places.
start, but yeah.
Yeah, I'm excited, and we want to, we'll talk about what's coming, but we've got Align Originals up and running. I'm very excited about that. Substack on alignment, folks. So that link will be in the show notes too. But I think what I can do, it's like everybody has to think about what their place is in the revolution. You know what I mean? Everybody can't do the same
Yeah.
jobs.
Mm-hmm.
And there's some warrior to me, and we can talk about that some other time. But I also think that between my ears is a pretty potent weapon. And I would love to just, whether it's on Alignment on Substack, whether it's the shows that we've got going on Align Originals, talking about how people can navigate different parts of their lives in ways that align with who they are. As we are starting now to send people over to Patreon, we have our own meditations, all that stuff. My goal is that we start to get conversations going and that people are able to find each other. And I'll add specifically now something I always had in mind. I remember giving a talk called Align Activism years ago now down at UT Arlington. Shout out to them. But Align Activism, and I've always thought that the Align approach could be an unbelievably powerful tool for nonprofits, for anybody who's figuring out how to make $1 out of 15 cents.
Mm-hmm.
Because it really draws on how do we truly optimize our performance, how do we maximize our impact. And so I would love in this time specifically, and I'm going to put this call out to people, if you're organizing, right? If you're, a group of people who's trying to form a team, y'all ain't been a team, but in these times now you need to be a team, whatever it might be, that come through. Basically come through, contact us, join us on these platforms, because I've seen it. I've seen people who literally had nothing but an idea, and in a couple cases they didn't even have the idea yet, build businesses that are now feeding their kids. Yeah. So I know that it can be done, and I've seen people use it. I've seen people use it to raise money for organizations. I've coached somebody who was running a community center for a couple of years there. We kept, things in the air and running that felt like they were gonna fall and fail, but we were able to do it. So just if you're out there, part of what I would like for this community is that there's enough interaction between people that people find ways that they can collaborate. But if you show up with your team, that we're able to say, hey, we can help engage and help y'all do what y'all do. That's such a big part of it. And maybe actually I didn't mean to bump into that, but maybe I'll tag that to the sanity part. I think we're all gonna have to make some very clear decisions about who we are.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? And we always talk about that. You and I always talk about that in the context of Align. We always talk about that. But I saw a video the other day, and this, you may have seen it, this DoorDash driver chased by ICE and just ran into people's house.
I heard about it, but I didn't see it. Yeah.
And don't watch it if you don't want. Like, I've been kind of judicious too, but I've been speaking on stuff. So if I'm gonna speak on it, then I feel like I better, see it with my own eyes and all that kind of stuff. But she runs into people's house. Now, ICE outside, you know how they act. You in there, ladies like, baby, blah, 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 right? Like, it's chaos.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, man, that's when you find out who you are. Because some people could have been like, you gonna get the F out of our house. That's what you about to do.
Right.
You done brought a bunch of trouble to our door. Get out.
Right.
Right. So you have to ask yourself, right? Because somebody had to ask themselves before they put Anne Frank up in that daggone attic. They had to be like, is we really gonna do this? Because if they find her up there, we dying too.
Mm-hmm.
But you gotta decide, is that, and maybe it's not. Maybe you like, hey, I could sew the hell out of a uniform, but y'all ain't coming in my house. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And you're gonna have to be real with yourself and the people around you. What is you actually about?
Yeah. That's
so
the question.
So you get clear, because
that is a question.
I suspect that in the next couple of years, some people are gonna find out who they really are, who they really are not. Because somebody will be like, have you seen blah, blah, blah? And you're gonna have to make a decision. Is you about to point in that direction? Or are you about to act like you ain't never met them before in your life and you don't know what these people talk about?
Mm-hmm. So true.
And my mother used to always tell me, you can't decide if you're gonna drink at the party.
Right. That's another good. I know about that life. Yeah.
She said, if you gotta decide before, once you at the party and everybody's having a good time, you get ready to drink.
Yeah. That's so true.
You can't decide at the party. And I think this is that. This is gonna be, if you haven't thought about it, if you haven't asked yourself, to use a Christian reference, which I don't always do that. Don't let that cock crow for the third time and now you start crying. You should have thought about that yesterday and how you wanted to show up. So I sounded a lot more like I was preaching than I meant to there at the end.
You did. I'm not gonna lie, you did a little bit. You had the voice inflection and everything.
I think these are real things, and I am encouraging people, like, wherever you can, if you comment if you comment here and just like want to have the conversation with that, like, just is what we're about. But also, like, no one's gonna make it through this alone.
Yeah, I feel so.
This is gonna be intense. So there we go. That was an interesting episode. That's a lot more.
So. Even if you say so yourself, right?
My word count was way higher than I want my word count to be for these.
That's all right. We did
that's all right. We'll rock with it this time around. All right. So we've got Monday moments.
Yes.
Monday, 8 p.m. on Monday, EST, and 5 p.m. PST, and we'll be weekly on Mondays from there. And in terms of Align Originals, we've got Thursday at noon Eastern, 9 a.m. We're doing Align Family, which is about parenting and family life and marriage and relationships and navigating all that. And on Tuesdays, we're recording You Got Some Balls, our sports and culture show. So it's we digging into the sports world and what's going on for the sports fans, but we're also looking at it through a broader cultural, social, political lens, and sort of how these things fit together and what we see in it in terms of who's behaving in aligned ways and who's not. And every first Friday of the month, Align Your Mojo, this show, which you usually will enjoy at 3 o'clock Eastern, noon Pacific, as you get used to our live schedule, will actually move to a night on every first Friday for the Cypher, where we get together, we have special conversations, specific conversations for folk, and then we party the night away with DJ Q Boogie blending those beats from back in the day to today, as I describe it. But come through, y'all. Come through Align Originals. Check us out. Like, share, subscribe, all the things. We're trying to grow this community. We're trying to be in community. We'd love to be your community. Come through. All right, now.
All right.
See you later, Mojo.
See you.